What I'm going to share with you today is literally the answer to all of it. And by the time I'm done, you're going to see what I'm saying is at least partly true, and then if you question me afterwards, you'll see that it's exactly true. Because there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, said Victor Hugo a long time ago, and that is an idea whose time has come. Now think about that, unpack that a little bit. One thing stronger than all of the armies of the world. And who are all the armies of the world led by? They're led by an entity that's literally called mind control. Govern means to manage or control, and mente means mind. What's the opposite of mind control? Freedom of mind. Freedom of mind, enlightenment, right? So you've got governmente, which comes in many different forms. It comes now in all industries in our society. When we learn that there is no gateway between us and source, between us and spirit, between us and God, then we are free. When we have faith and courage, then we are free. Because the biggest tool of enslavement is what? Fear. Fear is what they use to hold us under their grip. They scare us by owning the media. I was listening to, I was on a class with James Corbett, the Corbett Report, and he talked about mass media. Do you know back over 100 years ago, J.P. Morgan and all of his crew, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, these families that have been enslaving the world for literally hundreds of years, they purchased 75 of the most influential newspapers in the United States to control the narrative, to control the minds of the people. Right? Goethe said many years ago, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. My friends, we are slaves. We have been slaves. When I first heard that, I said, F off, I'm not a slave. And then I started asking, well, what is a slave? A slave is somebody whom by the threat of force and violence is made to give up the product of their labor, of their ideas, of the value that they create for society. To what ends? War, mandates, taxes. Folks, this is the biggest scam ever. And Henry Kissinger said many decades ago, if you want to control nations, control oil. If you want to control people, control food. If you want to control the world's currency. Right? He also said that we are cannon fodder and useless eaters. Now, these aren't the ramblings of a psychopath. This is the strategy of a psychopath. And there's a big difference there. It was 14 years ago when I was told that 9/11 was an inside job. And I smirked. I kind of laughed under my breath. And my buddy Steve across the table said, Jim, go watch Zeitgeist. Everything made more sense to me after that. Zeitgeist, it was, yeah. And I saw Building 7 fall into its own footprint at free fall speed. That's physically impossible. And from that day, I went through first a period of cognitive dissonance, which is having two competing belief systems in your mind at the same time. That doesn't work. It causes stress and pain and suffering, and you want to make sense of things, right? Well, folks, it's time we start sharing our red pill moments with our friends. Share that we were sheeple too at one point. We were stormtroopers. We were pawns of the slave master. The more we can accept that and say, yes, that was me, then we can help people see a path to their own freedom. So it was about a year ago when Del Bigtree was on the stage, and I wrote a speech for Del. And by the way, I believe in magic. I believe in the magic of God, of universe, of spirit. And I'm going to demonstrate some of you today that is still blowing my mind. So it was about a year ago. I gave him a speech. He read it. He said, Jim, you've got something here. In fact, you're blowing my mind. He then sent a film crew out to my house and brought me over there, and we installed the Food Forest at his place on film. It was a 33-minute segment. And from there, we launched basically 7.5 months ago. We are now helping people grow food in 15 countries and over 40 states. Our new chief operator, thank you. This is how we change the world. My friends, the idea whose time has come implies that the idea already exists. Now, I am much more of a spiritual person than a religious person because I understand that religion has been used as a tool of fear and enslavement. I choose direct source. And the idea whose time has come, literally the Garden of Eden, or this idea of food growing everywhere, will reverse mass extinction, reverse deforestation, cancer, diabetes, heart disease. This is how we change all of the forms of tyranny. And why would we do this in our backyards instead of growing lawns? For selfish reasons. Because it's better for us, it's better for our families. When we take that piece of lawn right there, right? And okay, see that forest in the background? Who manages that forest right there? How much time does it take to manage that forest? That's a silly question. You say, what are you talking about? Nobody manages that forest. Nature, God, source manages that forest. When you design a food system to mimic natural systems but provide a yield, then you have less maintenance. That lawn right now is a liability to this establishment. There are 40 to 50 million acres of lawn around the world, and if we turn half of them into edible regenerative landscapes, literally all of the dis-ease and dis-ease goes bye-bye. The control mechanism that Henry Kissinger spoke about goes bye-bye. It's gone. So since launching, we have just now finished a pilot TV show called The Land of Plenty. Now check this out. So I'm not much of a TV watcher, but I've had my favorite shows. The Crocodile Hunter for 10 years of my life was my favorite show. So when the producers of my favorite show called me up and said, Jim, we want to do a show on you and on your vision for society, I said yes, because I know that it's the Lord, God, nature, it all works in absolutely mysterious ways. I knew this was something big. 2 days later, the top movie star from my other favorite show 10 years later calls me up and says, Jim, I'd like to do a food forest. We just finished a pilot that is going to change the world. It's going to be seen by millions, and it's going to inspire and empower millions of people to do what's best for them. And that is use their resources wisely, mimic nature's systems, mimic God's systems, create abundance on every level. You don't need insurance policies the way we have them now when you eat healthy, right? Food, the stomach is the control tool. So then we just got a new COO for my company. It's called Food Forest Abundance, by the way. And he used to run the largest commercial product in the history of the world, Windows, for my least favorite person in the world. And now he left that control mechanism. He left that, and now he's helping people be free. He used to manage $130 billion, and now he's working with Food Forest Abundance to scale this globally. We are launching a fund called Grow Green Global, in which we're going to be the first entity in the world that I know of. And by the way, I love competition. In fact, I believe in collaboration. Anybody who's helping people grow food and be free right now, we will shine a light on them whether they work with us or not, because that's what we have to do. So now we are scaling. We've got the first fund that's going to finance the installation of food forests around the world. We've also, a little backstory, I started with the franchise model. I spent about $250,000 to put a franchise document together. It was 330 pages altogether. I threw the whole pile of shit in the trash because every line in it represented control and fear. I threw it in the trash. We now have a 2-page document, and it represents the voluntary exchange of value. When we start talking in terms of voluntary interaction, regenerative capitalism, the stuff we have now is not and has not for many generations been capitalism. Capitalism is 100% voluntary. So we teach capitalism as the solution to the biggest problems, as opposed to communism and socialism, which are all rooted in violence and force. My friends, growing food and being self-reliant is the opposite and the path forward. All paths to freedom have to include local regenerative agriculture. It's the poisons and the poison producers that are destroying our world. So if you know some people out there in the Democratic Party who say, trust the government, say, okay, most of them, I found one thing that I can get in. I said, do you like poisons? Many of them say, no, I don't agree with the poisons. Well, then show them where the poisons come from. Show them who mandates the poisons. And then they'll start saying, oh, because that's what we got to do. We love these people. These are our family. They're friends. They're there are relatives, there are kids and mothers, and it's so insane right now what's going on. But it's by no means an accident. This is all part of an agenda that has been in the works for, well, at the very least, 400 years. When Rothschild said 400 years ago, my kids are going to go across the world and we are going to control the world's currency. 200 years later, Mayor Rothschild said, I care not which puppet sits on the throne of England when I control its currency. You go a couple hundred years now, and we've got the same people, the same families who use millions, billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. In fact, I know it's trillions of dollars to control the minds of the peasants, of the slaves. Who wants to be a slave here? Of course, nobody. Everybody here is a freedom lover, and that's why you're here. Yeah, baby, free will is exactly right. So, folks, we're changing the world. This idea whose time has come is going viral. I've got 4 daughters. This is why I'm in action, because I am selfish. I want for nothing more than my daughters to grow up into the kind of world that promotes freedom, that is abundant, that has butterflies and birds and bees and nature everywhere. This is the answer to all the problems in the world. And if you have any questions about it, if you have a debate, because most people say, I've got a brown thumb, I've got a black thumb, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the space. If you've got a lawn, then you can grow food instead of the biggest scam in history, which is the American lawn. Right? It takes more resources and more poisons than any other crop, and it doesn't provide food. People come from this country, or from other countries, like 12 years in Costa Rica, and they're like, what is with all the grass? Where are your fruit trees? They don't even understand it because it's so ludicrous. Right? When we catalyze a shift in consciousness leading to mass adoption of this most logical and beneficial thing, then that's it. And it's happening right now. We are in the midst of the apocalypse. This is the great reveal. This is the end game. This is war 100%. So do we want to all take up arms and go shooting people? Absolutely not. The best way to win this war is by being joyful, by being faithful, by being courageous, and being self-reliant. That's how we win this war. By loving each other and by being peaceful and sharing our excess and earning money by creating value. That's what we're doing around the world, folks. And it's going viral. It's faster growing than anything ever. And I would like you to join any way you want. Thank you.